Hey everyone, Melissa Homner here with Sagebrush Wellness. I am bringing you a quick class today about acid reflux. So for those of you who have experienced acid reflux, heartburn, or GERD, you already know what this feels like. But for the sake of this short class, we are going to talk about what it is and then what do we do about it. Thank you for joining me for this class, and I hope that you will hang in there for about 10. I'm going to try to make this really quick, 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to be giving you short, quick, concise information. I want this to be something that is easy to share as well for you. Maybe you have a loved one or somebody that you work with that has this problem often, and immediately you are thinking of them, right? So I want you to take a moment and share this video with them, because this could be something that could really help make their life better, okay? So thanks for doing that. Thank you for thinking of your friend, and thank you for thinking of the one that you love that you think could really benefit from this. All right, let's dive in. So first of all, what is it? Let me make sure I can get this page to turn for you. So what does it feel like in our bodies? For those of you that this is a normal occurrence, you can look down this list and go, yep, yep. But I want you to really understand what some of these things feel like, especially for those of you who don't experience this on a regular basis, okay? So it's a burning sensation in your chest, heartburn, usually after eating, which might be worse at night. So sometimes this can get so bad that you can end up in the ER thinking you have a heart attack when it's really heartburn, right? So I don't want you to think, oh, it's heartburn and not go to the ER. Please don't do that. But just know that this can feel so bad that sometimes you feel like you're having a heart attack, okay? Sometimes it's not that bad, but there are other times it can get pretty nasty. Chest pain, right? Back to what we were thinking about or talking about just a minute ago. Sometimes it can feel like your whole chest is on fire, right? It's just, oh, it's crazy. Sometimes it's so tight and hot that it's hard to take a good breath, right? You can't take a good breath, and you just feel like if you expand those lungs and that chest cavity, it hurts so bad, right? So sometimes difficulty swallowing. Sometimes this can be really, really mild, but sometimes it can get really bad. Like you feel like you can't swallow, so you're spitting, right? These symptoms can range in severity quite a bit. Regurgitation of food or sour liquid. So food, sometimes it'll just kind of burble up and it'll be like, oh, yuck. Sometimes there'll be like chunks, right? You know? But sometimes there'll be a sour liquid that'll come up in the back of your throat and you're thinking, I didn't just have anything like lemony or whatever, but it's that acidic taste coming up in the back of your throat. Sometimes you'll have a sensation of a lump in your throat, right? It's just literally, I don't know how else to explain that, except that that's what it feels like. You're trying to swallow past a lump. It can cause asthma-like symptoms, such as a wheezing or a dry cough, something that happens all the time or comes and goes. Maybe it comes and goes every day, right? So sometimes when people feel like they're starting to have an asthma attack, it can be either started or worsened by their acid reflux or heartburn. Hoarseness, especially in the morning, right? Not being able to really talk well, like your vocal cords need to get loosened up, right? That's kind of a big deal. Chronic sore throat. I don't know how often I've heard this from my clients is, wow, I just can't get rid of this sore throat. And we start working on the acid reflux and that just dies away as the tissue begins to heal, right? So hiccups that won't let up. Sometimes we laugh about hiccups, right? But when they just happen and they go on and on and on and on and on, can really disrupt, it can, after a while, your chest gets to hurting, your muscles get sore, It's annoying, yes, but there are some consequences that come from it. You know, your muscles get really tight. It's not something to joke about, right? A lot of times when I would get hiccups, or my kids would get hiccups. We'd say, you know, scare them or whatever. It's not that simple. Hiccups from acid reflux are not something that just goes away, right? They can just kind of drag on. Nausea that lasts for more than a day or two. So often this is something, along with the hiccups and the chronic sore throat and the asthma-like symptoms. Well, most of them. So nausea, because your food is not being broken down well in the stomach, that's a real issue. That's one of the whys. That's one of the things that is actually causing this acid reflux or this heartburn to happen for you, right? So this can also be combined with other digestive issues further down the line. So we're going to look in just a little bit, we're going to look at how our digestive system is set up. And I want you to look at the progression. You know, food starts in our mouth, right? But then where does it go, right? We need to think about what is actually happening in our bodies. So when nausea lasts for more than a day or two, this can really affect your energy. This can affect your nutritional, you know, you're not being able to bring in new food, right? This is kind of a big deal. So we need to really dig into this. If you get into something like this, you need to really, you know, talk to a practitioner, figure out what's going on for you. I mean, all of these. You need to talk to a practitioner, whether it's myself, someone on my team, we'd be happy to help you. We work with folks with acid reflux every day. Or if there's somebody local to you that you want to get in contact with. Yeah. All right, so let's look at how our bodies are set up. Let's just do a quick recap on where everything is in our body so we can kind of make some sense of what's happening. So here's your mouth, where the food comes in. So we'll talk a little bit when we talk about what you can do about it. The mouth and what we do with our mouth is really important. But you swallow your food, it goes right down the esophagus right here. And it doesn't show it very well, but right here is a sphincter, right? It's a muscle, right? That is kind of shaped like this. When it's closed, it's like this. Then it can open when you've got food coming down into the stomach, and then it closes again. So what happens when we have acid reflux or heartburn or something like that, the sphincter becomes open a little bit, and it allows for whatever's in the stomach to kind of burble back up, right? So this little sphincter right here is kind of our safeguard. This is our gate from the esophagus to the stomach. And it's supposed to work pretty much one way, other than a couple good burps or, you know, something like that. This needs to really keep what's in the stomach in the stomach. And when that sphincter has been, sometimes that can get weakened from various different things, but the most common one is inflammation. Another thing that can happen is this actual stomach wall can get inflamed. This is what we call gastritis, right? So we have, the most important thing that we have in our stomach cavity is stomach acid, right? And there's a certain amount we don't have, you know, our body does a really good job at keeping the right amount. And we're going to talk about this later on too, is how do we really utilize what we have in there? So one of the common myths that comes across for us is that we have too much stomach acid, right? That's why we have acid reflux or heartburn or whatever, GERD, you know, that we have too much stomach acid. Most often the case is instead that we don't have enough. I've only seen one case clinically so far where the client actually did have too much stomach acid, and we addressed that. But so far, everyone else has had not enough. And we can get into some of the particulars as to why that's happening, but just know that your stomach acid has an extremely, extremely important job. And the biggest job, it's got a whole bunch of them, but the biggest job is to break down your food, especially the proteins. So think about this. You're having a lovely burger and it's amazing and juicy and all this stuff. You're chewing it and it comes down through here, and think about burger, right? It's beef. It's a really amazing protein. It's a good red meat, and it comes down in here, right? but you don't have enough stomach acid to really break it down. So it just kind of hangs out in here, and it sits and it sits, and it's not able to empty on down into the duodenum, which is the first section of your small intestine. It just sits in here, and it kind of ferments, and it shouldn't be here. And when that happens, that's when this sphincter gets pushed up against, and sometimes we can get some acid feeling come back up, right? And I just used a burger as an illustration. Doesn't mean that burger is bad or you shouldn't eat it. Not that at all, but just kind of giving you an illustration for how a protein needs to be really, really broken down. So often what we need to do is really address inflammation. We need to address things like how you're eating a hygiene, which I'm going to lead you through a handout around that you can actually download and print out and put on your fridge if you want to, or share, whatever. But it gives you some very, very simple steps that you can do to really address this simply, But a lot of times we need to look at food sensitivity. We need to look downstream, see what's going on in the duodenum. Why is this not being able to process food through as it's supposed to? Where's the backup? We a lot of times have to look at the gallbladder and the bile flow. Maybe you don't have a gallbladder anymore. And really thinking about the bile flow. How is your body able to break down fats and proteins? This all works into what we're talking about around acid reflux, right? So the biggest thing is to think about your stomach acid and what its job is, and to understand that most of the time, it's an issue of not enough stomach acid being able to break the food down. So it sits in there and ferments and causes problems, and then we start getting the acid reflux, heartburn, GERD, coming back up. Okay, awesome. So this is the handout that I hope you can click on this. This is a live link. If not, let me know. But let's go to the handout and I'll walk through this with you. Awesome. So this is something that we see so much in our client base, our folks that we help every day. So we created just an easy, quick handout that you can print out, you can carry with you, whatever you need to do, but it has some very basic starting points for addressing acid reflux, heartburn, and GERD. All right. So the first thing is to slow down, right? So this is hard for a lot of us, especially when our days just fly by and we're lucky to get everything done, right? Slow down. One of the things I'd like to help you think about is like sitting down, actually being, clearing away your work. A lot of us eat at our desks, or we eat on the run, like we're taking kids to practice and we grab a sandwich, right? But to slow down, be able to just create a space in which you have lunch or a quick bite. And, if it's 5 minutes, if it's 10 minutes, if it's 20 minutes is really great. But making sure that you just create space, just slow down in your day to be able to eat, right? Here are some great habits that we put in here that people have used. I'll try to use these as much as I can. But to chew, remember what we were talking about earlier in the slides when we were talking about having this amazing juicy burger, right? Chew it. Let those salivary glands in the mouth really start helping you break down that food and chew it until it's really broken down. So that when that food does get into the stomach, it's easier for that stomach acid to really break everything apart, and you're able to get the nutrition from that amazing burger you just took in, right? So we've seen just chewing make a huge difference in like how bloated you feel, how your belly pokes out after you eat, gas, burping, belching, all of those things, and just the simple thing of chewing, right? So prioritizing eating. This was a hard one for me. So especially when I was a mom of young kids, right? I don't know when I had a warm meal. I can't remember when I did. You're running and you're taking care of everybody else and you're up and doing, but let's prioritize eating and let's teach our kids how to do this. this can really change their whole digestive system future, if you want to say it that way. Think about prioritizing eating, taking the time to actually do that. Here are some really good tips. Sit down. I know it's hard sometimes. Breathe. I like to really do this. Just let your body settle for a minute, even if it's for literally a minute. Relax and savor your meals. This is what's giving you the fuel for your day. Just really thinking into, even if it's for 2 seconds, wow, this looks amazing. And then you're able to eat, right? So let's talk about not drinking too much water. So this is kind of a big deal. So think about using a cleaner of some kind. I'm going to pick Dawn dish soap because we all know what that is, I think. So say you wanted to, create some cleaning water. I put about that much Dawn dish soap in here, right? And then I put about, that much of water in here. It's not going to be very diluted, right? You could use this for cleaning a lot of really big, greasy stuff, right? That type of dilution. But think about the same amount of Dawn dish soap and filling this bottle clear up. We're not going to have the strength in the Dawn dish soap anymore, are we? Right? So think about your stomach acid in that same way. When you drink a whole bunch of liquid of some kind, it really dilutes the stomach acid and it cuts down on the power, the punch, if you will, that it has for being able to break down your food, especially proteins. Proteins are so important in our whole metabolism field, but just thinking about that. So trying to get in your water in between meals, before or after, and not during. And I'm not going to say don't drink during your meals. I like to have, enough to just, moisten my palate and not ever feel like I'm thirsty or dry when I'm trying to eat, but not to really like down this whole 32-ounce cup, right? So thinking about how you hydrate and when you hydrate is really helpful. So I want you to really read this sentence with me. These are so simple solutions, right? But don't underestimate how powerful they can be, especially when you really lean into all of them. Sometimes all is too much though. So pick the one that you think is going to be the most hard hitting for you. For some people, it might be the water piece. For some people, it might be the chewing piece. For some people, it's just creating space to have a meal. Really think about that for yourself. So we've seen many clients dramatically improve their digestion, energy, and nutrition with these very simple steps. So sometimes acid reflux, heartburn, or GERD is a small piece of what our clients come to. It's this much of their huge, big picture, right? But sometimes it is the big picture. And if it's, if it's in that space, then probably just doing these simple things will help, but it may not actually give you the relief that you want. And I'm going to take you to the website here quickly because I want to show you something. For those of you that this isn't enough, because there's going to be quite a few of you that it isn't enough, I want to invite you to what we started doing this last month. We're going to continue doing this because it's such a great tool for you guys. So this is a free symptoms analysis. So what you do is you go through, you're welcome to go through this page, but click on the symptoms analysis let's see, I'm sorry, right here, click here. So you fill out this form and it just goes through the symptoms that you're experiencing and it puts it into a kind of a big picture for me. And you actually get an hour or 15 minutes free of my time to really walk through this, like what's going on for you, right? Because you start out with acid reflux, GERD, or heartburn, but you've got all of this going on. How does this fit in? And what can you actually do about it, right? So this is a huge thing that we've been doing for our community just the last month and a half, and they've gained so much value from this, and I'd like to offer it to you. It's a really great tool. Also, you're able to, that should be a live link in the video that I was showing you. You should be able to actually click on that and download the handout. please feel free to print it out, put it on your fridge, whatever you need to be able to remind yourself to really follow those simple guidelines. Awesome. All right, you guys, have an amazing rest of your day. I'll be teaching a class next week, and I hope to see you then. Bye.